Ladies and gentlemen, now moving forward, let me tell you that we have the other track that has started as well. So, let me tell the FMCG leadership track has started as well. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're moving towards the panel discussion. The topic of the panel discussion is People, Processes and Technology, Alignment Across the Supply Chain Continuum. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be inviting our panelists as well as our moderator on stage. Please help me in welcoming our moderator on stage, Mr. Manoj Kothari, Vice President, Supply Chain, Global Demand and Supply Organization, Zydus Wellness Limited. Very warm welcome to you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be inviting our elite set of panelists now. Mr. Sushil Lohia, Director, Procurement Supply Chain, KPMG India. Mr. Shonik Goyal, President and Head, Supply Chain, Sheela Foam Limited. Mr. R. Sampath Raghavan, Head, Exim and Logistics, Raymond Limited. Mr. Rajeev Kadam, Vice President, Operations and Project, TotalEnergies. Mr. Ajit Jangle, Managing Director, FM Logistic India. Mr. Bhartendu Narera, Head Logistics, Samsonite South Asia Private Limited. Mr. Arush Kishore, Vice President and Head, Integrated Operations, Liquid and Gas, Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Ajit Kolhe, Head IT, CIO and CDO, VIP Industries Limited. Mr. Vishal Haikarwal, Director, Oracle India. Mr. Anish Shukla, Chief Customer Officer, Wells One. If you're mic'd up, please take your seats.
रोलिंग कट करूँगा ना कंटिन्यू
Over to Mr. Kothari now. Thank you.
जरा मुझे बोले
Good morning all. We have seen in earlier presentation that change is coming and be ready, and we are all supply chain professionals in this room, and if you go in past, the changes were there, I mean always. So whether you move from GT business to the modern trade or modern trade to e-com or e-com to quick service. But the pace of change has, really it's unprecedented, if I may say, with more and more QS are coming. And we as a supply chain, we are supposed to deliver excellence. So excellence in cost, we should be at the lowest cost, or quality in the hand of consumer, final consumer at the best level, or the delivery times. Now we are talking of 10 minutes and all. So each and every one of us in this room, we are implementing some kind of a transformation and digital transformation. All the organizations are running behind, and it's a necessity, I'll say. But how the transformations are, actually, what's the success rate? Any idea globally? Any percentage? Any number? Okay. Anyone else? So, the gentleman is right. As per McKinsey study, it is 69% is a failure rate. Only 31% is the success rate. So, what's actually an organization is spending resources or in terms of money, people, supply chain guys, and even sales guys are, spending a lot of money and time behind it. And what's finally, why only 30% success rate? And there comes the holy triad of people, process, and technology. And that's what we are going to talk today about, both internal view and the external view in terms of what makes organization successful. And we have a little bit larger panel, but a very, very beautiful combination of the consumer-facing businesses, energy businesses, some of the experts from outside in view, service providers, and we can actually learn, all of us, because learning never stops at any level. We can learn from the experiences of my co-panelists. So, with that, I think I'll start with Mr. Shonik Goyal on, how in their organization, right, Sheela firm, what they've done right to harmonize people, process, and technology to have, a kind of success in the process.
Morning. Thank you so much for setting the context clearly. My name is Shonik Goyal. I head the supply chain operations for a company called Sheela Foam Limited, more popularly known as Sleepwell. Right? So while I would not like people in this room to sleep at this point of time, but we are sleep experts, and we obviously want each and every customer of ours to have a good sleep, right? Now, the beauty about our business is that whenever a customer, people sitting here would build their houses, and each and every person would spend a lot of time in choosing the paint for the house, choosing the furniture for the house, but the mattress would be the last thing on anybody's mind. You'll get the bed, and the last thing you will go into the market and buy is a mattress. That puts a lot of pressure on supply chain per se, because we got to ensure that our customer gets the best product. We also need to ensure that there is enough reach available at all the stores that we have. And by the way, we have an exclusive network of about 6,000 dealers across the country, and those are Sleepwell exclusive stores. To ensure that there is a right product available across the market, there's a lot of science that goes inside our planning piece. There's a lot of science that goes behind our production, our supply planning, our production planning, and our dispatch planning, and so on and so forth. The other side to that is that while we have a lot of standard sizes of mattresses, the customization across the country is also going haywire. Typically in a place like Mumbai, we would not be selling more than 8 to 10% of our standard sizes. Most of it are customized sizes because of the size of the rooms, because of the size of the beds, and so on and so forth. So that's the way it is. What we have ensured that supply chain in Sheela foam is a function which is super active, right? We coordinate with our demand team, we coordinate with the front end sales team, we coordinate with all our dealers, and it's all automated. We've got a beautiful ERP operating, which is which does everything right from coordination with dealers, seeing what is selling in a particular market, which sizes to produce, and so on and so forth. So it's a beautiful replenishment theory of constraint TOC tool that operates for us. Supply chain is at the fulcrum of coordinating with the factories about what is to be produced, when it is to be produced, how much is to be dispatched where. So all that science, all that dispatch planning, all that supply planning, supply chain is the fulcrum. And post-COVID, I think everybody is more and more dependent on supply chain to excel and to provide adequate supply planning to to plan for inventories. There's a season coming up. This Q3 is supposed to be pretty big, and that's where the role of supply chain is very, very important in terms of aligning people, aligning processes, understanding customer demand, understanding what is selling where it is going to be produced, the demand planning piece of it, the supply planning piece of it, the capacity mapping piece of it. I think you name it, and supply chain is supposed to deliver on all those things. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. So I think, I don't know, I mean, you would have noticed one thing, the consumer facing businesses that are, on the panel, there is one peculiarity in that. And we'll talk two more consumer facing businesses on the same thing. But I come from FMCG where the size of the product is not huge. Whereas in case of the mattresses, and we'll go to the Samsonite and VIP industry, the size of the product is huge. So logistic costs are huge and inventory management becomes the key. And in that you add the consumer's preference. I need that kind of red suitcase, or I need particular kind of mattresses. So let's hear from Mr. Bhartendu, where he is from Samsonite. So how do they kind of manage the customer expectations?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll answer this in two parts. The first one is that the ecosystem which exists in the country today is something which is making certain things absolutely must. That's not a matter of choice. So let's go a year ago, I think around 17th of September, logistics policy of India was launched. We have had two presentations, two very good presentations in the morning. They talked about the importance of technology, how complexity has become a force which is making the leaders bold enough to take decisions. It is that fear of risk has become a driver instead of becoming an inhibitor. And all that, for any company, be it Samsonite or VIP or any other company, they cannot stay aloof from all these changes which are happening in the ecosystem. So technology today is not a matter of choice. Digitization is not a matter of choice. It is absolutely compulsory for all teams, be it supply chain teams or other teams, to walk in line with, in sync with these changing times. And therefore, taking a cue from there, now I'll come and talk about what's happening in our company. So, pandemic was a very, very bad period for travel, and VIP, Samsonite, Safari, they all suffered because of that. During that time, I'll just leave it here and I'll talk about people and come back to this one. Processes and people, as I said, technology is a given thing. It's not a matter of choice anymore. Now it boils down to people, that how they align themselves to these changing times, and then draw processes which are relevant for now and for future. So people, I would divide it into two groups. One, those who execute on ground, and the other one which is leadership. And it is extremely important for the leadership today to look into the future, understand the investment in technology, the ROI, whether it is going to reduce your cost or increase your cost, or how the future would look like, etc. Take decisions, give clear decisions, clear vision to the people down below who can execute it. Because if the vision is not clear, then people would be confused. And then coming down to the people who would execute it, you need a very different kind of skill set today. The youngsters, those who are working in our warehouses, those who are working in our supply chains, are very different than what it was 10 years ago, even at worker level. They are extremely, difficult to handle if you do not give them a very clear understanding of the technology, what they are going to handle, the equipment they are going to handle. For example, the scanners today, where they have to handle it is Android platform, and they are very comfortable with it. And the leadership today, those who are 20 years plus, 25 years, 30 years plus, like me, it is difficult because when we were in that age group, we were in that service bracket, we had not seen all this. So to relate to this energy, this excellence, this excitement becomes difficult. And that's where the responsibility on decision makers is far more than the ones those who execute. They would do it if it is clear. And now then coming to what Samsonite did. So leadership played a very pivotal role, very important role here. And just when the pandemic was setting in, a little before that, a decision was made to invest heavily into technology and manufacturing. And as a proud Samsonitean, as a proud Indian, I can say that Samsonite very soon would have a factory in Nasik, which is going to be the biggest manufacturing facility in the world for Samsonite. So as Indians, it is a matter of great pride for me. And this investment is happening in extremely highly technology-oriented machines and manpower. And if this is happening, then the warehousing cannot remain in isolation. And therefore, we have gone ahead, and in 2020 onwards, there has been a focus, and it is in public domain, you must have seen it. Last year, the global CEO, Mr. Goyal, was in India when it was announced that they are going to pump in about 150 crores into upgrading the manufacturing and warehousing facilities in India. So a larger part of this upgrade, of course, is infrastructure, which is a warehouse itself, but also the IT technology. We have already gone ahead and have implemented WMS in all our warehouses. We are implementing transport management system. We have invested in order management system. And all this brings in the visibility at various levels, which in the presentations today we saw that how important it is for customer to get updated in real time. So all that is happening, and as I said in the beginning, it is not a matter of choice any longer for any company. The customer has to be kept informed, and the feedback from the customer, right or wrong, would act for all of us as the next level of improvement. And that's how we would progress. That's how our people would progress. That's how our processes would be designed. So it is, and at the national level, Prime Minister talked about the logistics policy last year. It would still take some time for the country to come up with the, ease of logistics, with unified logistics interface program and all those things. It would be still some years from now. But the good thing is that it has started. It has happened. And with this, the responsibility on the decision makers is far higher than it ever was to design processes, to invest time and think that what the day after tomorrow would look like. Thank you.
Thank you. I think very good insights on top management commitment on investing behind technology. But again, the people are the backbone of the same to make it success. Let's hear from Mr. Ajit Kolhe, who is from VIP, the similar industry, the similar product and what they are doing. I mean, it could be interesting.
Yeah, thanks. So this is first time both the competitions are sitting on the panel. So I'm part of the many panels as such, but this is first time. So that's nice to hear. So I represent VIP industry. I am a tech leader. I am the head IT for them. So my take on this particular subject, people, process and technology. In the current context, if talk about the digital transformation or whatever industry 4.0, 5.0, what is coming up, technology is given for me as such, or for all the industry for that matter. Technology was never concern for any organization. Previously also, now also, because with the internet era and the mobility and whatever the cloud and everything we are talking about, it is given for all the organizations. It's a matter of choosing the right technology and deploying the right solution in the place. But the important aspect from my take and rolling out the solutions, implementing part of the IT strategy and something like that for the current organization. What a peculiar message or what a peculiar learning for me, not for this, but based on the previous experiences also. Processes are very critical for any implementation or getting the real ROI or the benefits of the organization for that particular organization. So process maturity comes over the period of time. Incidentally, what in the manufacturing setup, what I particularly saw, over the period of time, the processes got matured. Processes are exist, but optimization of the processes has not happened over the period of time. So we are doing a particular process over typically in manufacturing, if you talk about this P2P and order to cash process, basically procure and order to cash. This exists, nothing, we procure the goods, we sell the goods and something like this, which already exists as such. But with the technology has given an edge basically to adapt and become the main driver to run your processes. So process becomes critical, any changes are required in the processes that has to be done. So this is key. Technology finally is an enabler at the end of the day. You have a strong processes, mature processes, and now we are just selling our goods in the various channels as such. E-commerce is definitely a space we are working upon, and then a lot of work has happened. So new processes came, customer expectation has changed, and accordingly the processes has defined. So processes are given, the only important aspect for me are people. So as a technology leader, when I am deploying a solution or technology deployment is a very easy job. Go live can happen in the 3-4 months or whatever time period we are talking about. But adoption of the solution and the usage of the solution definitely critical as the IT leader for me. A key emphasis on that is if adoption of the usage has not happened for any IT implementation, IT projects, there is no ROI, no benefit for the organization. It will become a silent spectator in the organization that some certain out of 10 or 15 projects what we have done, the real benefits has come to the users or not, or for the organization for that matter. So I certainly believe on that people are the very critical aspect to make that project successful or bring the benefit of the IT to the organization. So change management exercise, what we typically call as, and then making people the part of the project from the day one itself, because the conceptualization of the project in any area in the supply chain as such, maybe your supply planning, demand planning, logistics part of the warehousing, transportation management, whatever we talk about, or maybe the internal harmonization or standardization if we talk about. Involving people from the day one, making the part of the project, make them inclusive of that project. It's not basically certain decision are taken at the management level. Management wanted to do some investment has already happened. But real ROI benefit will come when people start using the solution. That is very critical. And this is not within the organization, outside the organization. You talk about a CRM solution or vendor solution, something like that. Your stakeholders, external stakeholders, if people start using the solution, because everything what you're talking from the transparency and the visibility perspective, because tech has that power to bring transparency and visibility, and based on that the various decisions can be made and the business benefit will come out of that. But everything is, being a supply chain also it is interlinked, so people, process, technology are linked, but I will always put the people at the forefront. Because ultimately whatever given, people has to use it, right? If you don't use it, there is no meaning at all. The mobile phone or what mobile innovation has happened, people are using it, that's why it is making the sensation in the market. Similarly, it goes for the business application, similarly it goes for the any Simple process improvement exercise also, whatever the automation you do, whatever the collaboration piece you build, or whatever the optimization you do, the technology is given. If people start using the solution, then the benefits will come to the organization, and then definitely it can add value to the cost or the revenue for which the project is designed or the IT initiative is designed. So my take on this particular, and many projects over the period of time what I have delivered has not seen the day of light. Basically the adoption has poor as such, because technology stack is ready, everything is ready, but the adoption, usage, so many times organizations to take a pause. Okay, and this year my roadmap or my strategic plan to the organization is, from the last 2 or 3 years we have done a lot of work. Let's take a pause, let's make the adoption and the usage to the maximum level which the technology has the power to improve upon. Because all the IT is basically, is definitely power, that's why people are investing it. So IT has power to change, IT has power to deliver value to the organization, but that will only come when people start using it. So that is only my take on this.
Thank you, Ajit. So I think we'll come back to the topic little bit later on the adoption of technology by the people, and we will hear some more experiences. These are the inside views of the organization. Let's hear from Vishal the outside view, because all these requires a lot of investment in terms of and the commitment from the management, but the outside world uncertainty remains. I mean, the Ukraine war is still on and China is still struggling and all. So let's hear from the Vishal what are some of the geopolitical and the macro factors affecting the decision making and the overall supply chain engagement or on the business. Vishal?
I think you changed the question. So, and I try to have an impact.
Uncertainty we are talking
So
about.
first of all, good morning to everyone, and I hope you are having a great time. And I try to address this question because probably after Chandrayaan type of technology, the best technology which we need is supply chain. And the reason for that is that it is not just one variable. There are, how many variables are there in supply chain? Unlimited. Guys, there is vendor, there is customer expectations, there is internal processes, business. There are geopolitical situations. There may be, any condition like G20 happened recently in Delhi, and suddenly Delhi came to a standstill. Multiple variables which are there. Now, what is that which is required to address those political situations or the variables? Everything is two things. Of course, is your business processes which you have aligned, having a flexibility in that business processes. That is, today, someone was discussing today about plan A, plan B and all those things. I think plan A is the best thing. If you have plan B and C, you have started thinking about the damage control. Have the faith in your plan B, implement it. Whether it is demand and supply chain collaboration, the communication system within your organization. Okay, that is the most important thing. Means one department talking to another department. Supply chain is not a department. It is your order, sales department, purchasing department, logistics department, all the department working together is supply chain. And your vendor and your customer, everyone working is supply chain. So business process integration. The place where a company like Oracle can step in is the technology advancements. And I can tell you all the major innovations which are happening in technology, which is whether it is related to artificial intelligence, whether it is related to collaboration, open innovation, that means open collaborative innovation, that is working together, the 3 or 4 companies coming together and working together because everyone is impacted. Those are the things which are working in technology, and I believe that all this, whether it is geopolitical situation, collaboration, multiple countries working together, etc., etc. If you have strong business processes and you have strong technology and adopting those things, all these things are addressable. We are sitting among the best people here. I think it is like the, a Makkah of all the supply chain experts, and probably I am expecting all of us to collaborate and learn from each other. But let's plug in the most important piece, because I was hearing everyone, and everyone mentioned technology as one of the things which is important as far as the entire management of supply chain and efficiency is concerned. It is not just inventory management, inventory visibility and all those things. Gone are the days. The technology has moved multiple levels above. What we used to think multiple years back is a reality now. Let's adopt those artificial intelligence technology, technologies which are machine learning, etc., into the business, and then see that how supply chain will become more efficient, and then all these variables will not matter because you have a strong business processes and you have a strong technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think we heard about the changes and changes coming very fast. On one hand, and the organization needs to be kind of investing behind that, but on the other hand, we don't know. I mean, impact of AI. We are investing in one kind of digital tools, etc. So let's hear from different sector, gas and energy sector, that how they see technology or how they plan next 3 to 5 years, because finally all these transformations, they should deliver the value, and value could be in a multiple facet, right? Value could be in terms of the decision making, value could be in terms of better customer service, value could be in terms of even sustainability today. So let's hear from Arush, Kishore from Reliance Industries that how they are planning future. I mean, not the long term future, but maybe 3 to 5 years. And I mean, what's the process?
Thank you. So let me not keep it theoretical. I'll give you a couple of examples how it has played out in Reliance over the last 3 years. Sometimes some colleague here asked me what my interests are. So this is a good place to share with you, especially my friend from Oracle. But I read a lot of history books. I go through nearly 50 of them in a year. But why is that relevant? Sometimes it works out to look at the past. Sometimes your past experience can tell you what to do in the future. So let me just share with you, pre-COVID, our team, some of them are sitting here, actually went into a deep dive into what people do on a daily basis. What were the JDs, what are the skills that the existing people have, etc. And we were at the cusp of identifying processes and gaps that exist in our people piece and the process piece. So the processes that needed to be digitized, processes that could be automated. And that is when COVID struck. The team quickly got together and made a virtual operation center. And I'll be happy to share with you that we, in 0 to 3 days, we went from 0 to 11% of the country's oxygen supply, almost all of it free of cost. So that is what people in the process outlook can do, especially in a VUCA environment where everything is in flux. Well, that got settled. So then we started to rebuild on what we were working on pre-COVID, and we identified a few processes. One of the processes that we identified for automation was actually truck placement. So we automated truck placement, and we are operating currently. We started at 95% success rate. Currently, we are at about 97-98%, depending on the month. Automated truck placement without any human intervention. A collateral damage or a benefit of that was FIFO. We use a platform to share one vendor's daily allocation, which is visible to every other vendor and without any friction. You can only imagine the efficiencies that brings to our operations. Building on that, we again, learning from our oxygen experience, we have now built a virtual operation center where people sitting all over in various geographies can place or solve situations in plants which are in other geographies. So that is another deep efficiency that has come on the people and the process platform side. Now, what does that taste like? So let me just tell you, over the last 2 years, we have reduced our trucks that we use by almost 20%. We have increased the size of the trucks by 14%. The journeys per truck has gone up by about 11%. And the loaded kilometers have also gone up similarly. Now, if somebody was to tell me, Arush, this is your target, I'll go home and say, I've got a crazy boss who thinks I can deliver my magic. But what I can tell you is that if you look at it in a systematic manner, look at all the three pieces together, there are tremendous efficiencies that are possible. Whether you commercialize them or not, that's a management call. But efficiencies are there for the taking. Thank you.
And so, may I ask Rajeev Kadam to share his view? He is from the TotalEnergies, again the same sector, similar kind of questions and maybe different view.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone. Before I answer the question, actually looking at supply chain fraternity and so many experts, I just remember one famous saying, I just a little bit tweaked it, that science is about the doing, but supply chain is about the doing. And we all are doing that. So whatever the circumstances, situation, in the COVID era, all the supply chain person has delivered. So that is very important. Regarding this question, I have different views. Actually, I'm from the energy sector, oil and gas field. And generally, whenever we plan strategy for supply chain, generally we look horizon 5 years and beyond, 5 to 10 years. Because I see the specific aspects. One is about the customer experience, second is sustainability, and third is cost competitiveness. These are very important aspects in our sector. And to down in those aspects, I can see some levers. So the levers are, one is the innovation, we all talked about it, digitization, there are many experts here. Then about the using the digitization for real-time decision making, that is very important. Because so many tools, solutions are available, but if we don't use effectively, that is why the human interference with the digitization is very important. And that is why we don't talk about the robo, we actually talk about the Kobo. Kobo is about the human interactive robotic technology. I think that is very important. So that is being discussed. And third is about the product technology in our field, because in our field, process safety and sustainability are very much critical, and that is why the product technology plays a very important role. And in product technology, the important aspect is about the formulation and also the impact on the customers, and also the impact on the environment. These are the things which we really focus on. And third thing about, he touched about the geopolitical and macroeconomic, that plays a significant role in our industry. And we have seen any geopolitical situation arises, how it impacts the oil and gas business. So that makes a very different situation. So that is why adapting to the situation, innovating with your product technology, changing the formulation, looking for the availability of the raw materials and accordingly adapt your technology, that is very important aspect, and that keeps you ahead of the time in view of these different scenarios happening. So that is one of the aspects. Second is sustainability, we all know about that, and every nation has committed towards the net zero, and our country is, I think everybody knowing by when we will be becoming net zero India. What is the commitment? 2070. That is our Prime Minister's commitment, and it's a huge challenge for the country like us, being diversified country. So I think that plays a significant role in our business, where we don't see only the consumption of energy or using the environment friendly aspect, but we look after the end-to-end life cycle of the product. How the raw material will be produced, the processing of raw material, the logistic of raw material, manufacturing technology, and also after the consumer using, how it is going to dispose it, how it is going to be reused, how it is going to recycle it. That is the end-to-end life cycle is very important, and that we need to adopt. That is one of the important aspects. And third, I will talk about the customer experience, because I am not from the consumer segment, but customer experience is a must in current scenario. How you give the visibility to the customer. We have seen in e-commerce business, the customer now can track from the starting point till he receives the product. So that visibility need to be there in every business, in our business, every business. So, and also not about only the tracking of the product, it's about how the product is going to impact his life, how it is going to be used, will it affecting financially, will it affecting environmentally, will it affecting is from user comfort point of view. All those aspects are very important. So I think in the short, for next to 5 to 10 years, if you focus on this thing, then only you are going to remain ahead of the competition, remain in the market. That is important. And last part is cost competitiveness. Everybody is aware. You need to be competitive, and that is why you need to keep on upgrading yourself. And you have seen examples, industries who have not upgraded, not innovated, they have lapsed from the market. So that is very important aspect. These are a few words.
So, I mean, let's move back to the consumer facing business, and let's hear from Mr. Sampath Raghavan from Raymond, that what kind of digital transformation they have done, and kind of benefits they could have accrued in, I mean, not only commercial benefit but overall at an organization level.
Good morning everybody, I'm audible. Thanks to Kamikaze Media for providing us an opportunity here to share my thoughts. So, I come from a vertical which is into B2B, in the international trade of the lifestyle vertical of Raymond. So, we do garmenting, which converts raw material into finished garments and then sell it to the retail chains in the US, Europe and Japan. So our different types of product offerings, different channels are basically B2B, B2B2C, as well as actually both within India and outside India. So to US, Europe and Japan basically. Before I start off my sharing, so I would like to give you the kind of, ecosystem in which we are in, because my son is in combat sport. I would like to draw a quote from Mike Tyson. So one of the reporters, asked him when he had a scheduled fight with Tyrell Big, and he was asking, what's your plan for defeating your opponent? So the famous quote of Mike Tyson is, everyone has a plan before he is punched on the face. So multiple punches on the face is a knockout, and this is the world we are in today. Pandemic, followed by we had the Suez. Because I'm in specializing in international trade, I would like to touch upon the international ecosystem, whereby so under what VUCA world are we thriving? How are we surviving this VUCA world? So apart from the pandemic, we had the Suez problem, where the entire supply chain, around 20 to I think around some 18 to 20% of the world trade moves through the Suez Canal, and then there was a chock-a-block there. And it was almost for 15-20 days, actually the goods did not move from the Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere to the Western Hemisphere. So this was second. Third, we had the kind of congestion in China, because normally the supply chain, originates from the east to the west, because West is much advanced country and they go into the services sector. So the Western world or the mature market tries to source it from the least cost country. So China was there, and India has caught up with this China plus one catching up and things like that. So this is the world we are in, and we are into Raymond being into the tailored clothing business. So we are catering to the US market. So now that is the ecosystem we are working in. what are the various, I think more specifically, I think the task given to me to be more, really respecting the time for the other panel members, I will just touch upon the initiatives that we have taken so that, so I handle compliances, I handle Exim functions, and then I handle the logistics as well. So in terms of the logistics, actually what we do is basically we need to see during pandemic, we know what container problems we had and things like that. So you need to have kind of partners who are with you at the time of adversity and at the time of actually prosperity as well. So now coming to it, so how does this technology piece come into play here? And again, I go back to the quote of Bill Gates. So he says the first rule of technology is that if you are building technology on inefficient process, it certainly enhances inefficiencies. So it can only mount the inefficiencies unless your processes are strong. So by process, what I mean is basically that actually you should know why you are bringing in technology, what are the processes and what processes are to meet with the ultimate requirement of your consumers. So unless we are having an aerial view of where we are going to build up our efficiencies on in terms of our process and people. So technology can only be an enabler right now. At this point in time, again going back to the quote of Bill Gates, if our processes are not strong, if the people who are going to build these processes are not well informed and they don't have the aerial view of what the organization stands for, what are its KPIs and things like that, unless we have the aerial view of that, so it cannot be. So we have to create a system within the organization for having a collaborative approach and everybody talks one mantra. What is the mantra? So that mantra can be split into 4, 5 KPIs. So what are the KPIs? All the technology, all the processes, all the people are working towards that, and then we talk of technology, how technology can be an enabler for all these things. So having said that, so on the technology front, what Raymond as a garmenting vertical has adopted is basically that we are into B2B, B2B2C. B2B2C is basically that typically just understand. I walk into a store in the US, so I want to have some suit because we are into only tailored clothing. So we are into a segment of tailored clothing. So I walk into a store maybe in California, Los Angeles or Pittsburgh or wherever. So I walk into a store and then I have a shop which is showing me these are the styles, these are the fabric which I will be able to offer you, and he gives you an advance in the shop. But let us say that this is the promise is that it will be delivered within 15 days to the shop. So I order today and within 15 days I go to the shop and pick up my garment, customized garment. It's not a standard product, customized garment suiting to my body structure, so which is a variable. So how it is done is technology is enabled us. Every night at 12 o'clock there is I think there is a process of consolidation what this retail chains do. They are highly automated, they are highly technology oriented. So what they do is they try to consolidate all these things, all the measurements that is there. So it directly comes over in an XML format 12 o'clock to the server that we have. This is a customized server with our in-house technical team which has developed this. So right in the morning the shop floor starts at around 9 o'clock. So then there goes. Actually the race begins. So we start stitching these things and then actually that is only on the manufacturing and the planning part. So the major part here is how do we see that we are talking about a retail chain having about if we talk about 2 buyers, they command over something 1,500 to 2,000 retail stores in the US, and we are individually catering to them sitting out of our Bangalore plant. So that is the kind of complexities we have. So how does it happen? So we have a channel partner who is into advanced logistics. So we have something called break bulk, we have something called hybrid and things like that. So not only that, So we also have the compliance part of it, so while it has to go to different stores, how does it do? We have a partner who takes it from India to Leipzig, from Leipzig it goes to Cincinnati, the delivery center. From their delivery center, it goes distributed to the various stores. So all within 15 days. The start point is receipt of order to the stores on day 1 and day 15 is it is delivered to individual stores. So this is the kind of thing. So what is the compliance part of it? So within India, it's just a transportation. You'll have to take only the kind of compliances for your GST. You have to take compliances in terms of your e-way bills and things like that. That's different. But in international trade, it's a different ballgame altogether. So what comes into play here is basically the inter-country regulatory requirements, the inter-country duty. So imagine a situation, I as a customer go to a store and then I order it. So unless I know what's going to be the cost to me, or as a Raymond or a retail chain, unless they know what is the cost it's going to be including your taxation. So your taxation is going to be a very difficult part. So how are we able to manage it? All these things are going to be only enabled by technology. But behind all these things, what comes into play is number one, the process and the people who define this process. This is only based on the KPIs that we have with the overall vision of the company. So these are the drivers which I wanted to touch upon. And then second thing where technology comes into play is basically that we're talking about a lot of traceability, visibility, sustainability, all these things, So I think when we go to traceability comes in terms of two distinct requirements. So in terms of international trade, traceability comes into play when we're talking about recycling nowadays. In terms of sustainability, we talk a lot about the recycling. So how a customer sitting in the US is able to know that a vendor is using a recycled product. So he is only operating with a tier 1 vendor, but in the whole supply chain or the value chain, we may get into tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. So basically the tier 2 and tier 3 becomes very important here, whereby actually the origination of the basic material forms a whole you need to create a visibility on those. So are we as tier 1 vendor capable of taking care and drawing a visibility and giving a visibility to the customer? So technology comes into play here. So that's very, very important for all of us to do that. Number 2, what is it in terms of social compliances? So US, Europe, everywhere you see a lot of responsible sourcing coming into play here. So responsible sourcing in terms of reduction or elimination, not reduction, elimination of child labor, elimination of disparity, gender equality, whatever we talk about, actually the US customers or the advanced customers are talking about these things. Today it could be a cliche or today it could be a buzzword, but believe me, moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years, I think unless we fall in line with all these things, I think we'll be left out of the international market and we'll be left out of this. So there again, what comes into play here is basically the technology which comes into play here. So I think that we need to adapt to technology. It's not a given. It is a main point of sustenance for all of us in the supply chain community to see that we adopt in an intelligent manner. With that, I close.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sampath. So, there were few or huge debate last few days on Bharat and India, right? So, I think similar paradox is we see in our supply chain with our partners. So while we all talk about digitization, investing behind processes, people, technology and all, but we have a stakeholder outside, and possibly so our freight forwarders are maybe their operating people are still what we say is a part of Bharat, not part of India. So let's hear from Mr. Ajit Jangle, MD of FM Logistic, that how the technology adoption of the customer they are doing within their organization and moving needle fast to catch up, because it's moving people to that level. And your experience.
Thank you very much. I'm feeling that I'm possibly the second last batsman in a T20 where we have a pressure on the time and the pressure on the score as well. But then,
that is always for logistic part.
That's the saying. That's the variability when every supply chain service provider face with the customers in the panel, and we are used to it. So thanks for this. I will take about 3-4 minutes only. So try to ease your job. FM Logistic is a Paris headquartered company present in India for last 23 years. Our focus is about the value proposition, and that is a technology based solution in line with what customer wants to achieve. And normally when customer comes, they come up with the A, B, C, but when we discuss with them and share our experience, and then in exchange we come up with something XYZ as a solution, and that is what the value proposition. And when we do that, we always require to have a people focus, process focus, and the technology focus. But there are two more things required also. One is about the planning, and the fifth thing is about the infrastructure. So nothing is right, maybe the more important or less important is based on the solution, based on what customer is looking for. We try to work with all these 4-5 different pillars in the organization and try to deliver value to the customer. That is what our focus is. We have about 70 lakh square feet of warehousing space today, and we are managing almost like a 500 plus vehicles every day without owning a single vehicle through our 4,500 employees in the country. And that is also based on the technology, because without technology it is not possible. We take a pride that we are bringing a different solution to the Indian customers. Like we just installed a control tower, which is for experience about more than 3 to 5 years with working with the customer, where we provide not only the visibility, because that is given now, we give our predictability that what will happen, and that is also given now. So we are going to the next level about prescriptive control tower, so that all the customers' requirement in terms of transportation and the deliveries can be managed. So now in last 30 years, when I was the head of supply chain of one of a customer, I developed a solution which was very innovative that time, that we can manage the inventory of any automotive plant in 30 days. And that was a big thing. 30 years down the line, now we are providing a solution to one of the automotive line, which is a half-day inventory, and that is also on the wheels. So the beauty of the supply chain is that there is no aim to innovation. Only thing is you have to understand the real requirement, and based on that requirement you have to build solution, and based on solution we need to adopt the technology. So technology is given, but it is not everything in the technology is given. I think you have to adopt what is really required, whether a customer is ready to pay for it, because ultimately it is a financial flow. So when we talk about supply chain, it is not about the only logistics, which is a physical flow, but that is about the financial flow, information flow, people flow. So it is quite a complex gamut, and which is a science. As somebody says, the science is about knowing and supply chain is about execution. But I think it is about the technicality, about mixing all the variables in the system and delivering something to the customer which will add value to them, and they can able to help their customer so that they can have a supply chain which is competing with other supply chain. So this is what FM Logistics is doing in India. I think I tried to finish in 3 minutes, but I'm sure that there will be no next round, because this is the first time I had a panel discussion where panelists are more than 6. So it's another different experience, and I'm enjoying, because I think a lot of different perspectives are coming from the customer. But then if any question or something is there, happy to discuss and interact after the panel discussion. Thank you.
So we have a traceability and visibility both. So, I think we started with somewhere on the risk of failure in all these initiatives, and lot of technologies we talked about. So what are the cost and the risk trends actually? Are they just hyped, or in reality we can see? And we have our panelist who is director in KPMG for supply chain practices. So let's say that outside in view on his expertise working with various sectors, industries, etc. And what we see in near terms, I mean.
Thanks a lot and very good morning everyone. So I'll also try to keep it very short. See, the industry has evolved by time, and especially during this unprecedented situation all of us have gone through. It was an eye-opener for every organization, especially their supply chain. Supply chain, which was considered as a support function in the past, as well as a cost center, it is no more considered to be a support center. It is considered to be a backbone of most of the organizations. Now, how this backbone, how this foundation element, you have to make it more strong, more agile. So, trends, when we talk about, it's a very broader term, but then what I have seen after interacting with more than 300, 400 clients in last 2-3 years, every client when I meet, first of all they ask, how can I make my supply chain more agile, more resilient, and get the real-time visibility. Getting the real-time visibility is always a big challenge, because that can only be possible when you have a single version of truth across your umbrella. From the time you get the order to the time the order is fulfilled. So that can only be possible when you have a complete integration of people, process and technology. Rather, I would use one more word, that is risk. Because risk is I think risk is everywhere. Because most of us couldn't able to anticipate that biggest risk which we came across, that was COVID. And all of us are going through so many risks like biological wars, social economical issues, political issues, infrastructure risks, so many risks is there. But we always talk about that, yes, there has to be a synergy between people, process and technology. But how you can de-risk your every facet, every aspect of supply chain. So with not only the mitigants, but ultimately make it more circular, so that supply chain help you to improve your bottom line and can become your profit center to the organization. So I think now if I want to break it up, I'll just take a minute. That people part, somebody did mention about the user adoption. User adoption is very critical, but more than user adoption, we always talk about vendors, we always talk about customers, but what about our own people, our own employees? Because if you are able to take care of your employees, you are able to reskill them, then I think your supply chain can become more agile. Process and technology can run in parallel, because technology is an enabler. But process, if it is integrated, there are so many disparate processes out there. You have to make it to a gold class. And that can only be possible when there is always a digital orchestration over the processes and can give you the single version of truth across your ecosystem. And then this complete garment can be improved by de-risking the overall process and helping you to fulfill all your business metrics and the ops metrics. So I think this is what I wanted to cover, and I think the market, when we talk about...
I'm really sorry to interrupt, but in the interest of time, we'll have to wrap up this session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm so sorry, but we'll have to wrap up this session, sir.
I have one question.
Quick coming up by... You can come up. So let me take a minute. It's a big pattern. He mentioned about the solutioning side of it, right? I come from the warehousing side of it. We represent Welspun One, which is into creating warehousing assets. When I say warehousing assets, it's basically warehousing solutions, right? And I think I just want to touch base upon the point that the warehouse is a very strategic asset moving forward. It's no more a asset or a building which was...
We're really sorry, we need to really, because the tea break will start now, we're really running out of time. I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry, I really apologize. We can take our questions also offline, so I guess we'll be able to wrap up this session now. Let's have a huge round of applause for our panelists and our speakers, our moderator. I request the moderator, sir, to please present the mementos to our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a quick tea and coffee break. I request you to please converge in 15 minutes from now. Thank you.
स्टार्ट करूँ
उसका हुआ ही नहीं था।
उसका भी नहीं